Wow, thank you, Pamela. Delegate Algie Howell has arrived, and I want to invite him up with Gloria Stevenson Clark, an officer with SGI, and a long-time UN Peace Day organizer in her own right. She's going to introduce Algie. So without further ado, come on up here.
It's so nice to see the faces of those who we've worked with in the past, and looking forward to meeting those of you who I've not had the chance to meet. But thank you all so much for being here. You are the ones who weave the network of peace throughout our communities, and I want to thank Matt and Sonia and all the small dedicated committee that have brought us together tonight. And the last speaker, my goodness, you know, this is very exciting stuff that we're hearing tonight, so thank you so much. But I'm delighted and honored to introduce to you our next speaker, Delegate Algie Howell, Jr., who has been a member of the Virginia House of Delegates since 2004. And Delegate Howell is not just someone who's well-known and popular enough to win an election. I'd like to tell you a little bit about him, just in my brief minute that I have. He's a retired airman from the U.S. Air Force, a retired educator with a master's degree, and a business owner who has been active in human rights for several decades. And as a ranking member of the State Appropriations Committee, Delegate Howell has been successful in sponsoring legislation that addresses the needs of education from grade school up to areas of higher learning. He has addressed the needs of persons in poverty. He's been committed to that, and he's worked for the rights of convicted felons who pay their debt to society. In addition, he makes sure that our basic infrastructure needs are met within that very delicate balance of funds that the state has available. I want you to know that he is the very first elected official to sanction our efforts, the efforts of this committee, the UN, for the UN Day of Peace. And he was the very first to show up and be a part of what it is that we're doing. And so this is his third time out of our 6 years, his third time of attending our event, and we really appreciate it so much. In addition, he's a nice guy. And if you want a good haircut, guys, or a good hairdo, ladies, check him out at the Virginia Beach Boulevard and Valentine shop. I am really pleased to bring to the podium, after his recent landslide victory of re-election in the 90th District, the Honorable Algie T. Howell, Jr.
Good evening. Good evening. You know, Gloria, she only knows one way to do some things, and that's the right way. When she was introducing me there, my mind went back to one of maybe my favorite person in the field of civil rights, and that was Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. When he came to Norfolk in 1968 and spoke at New Calvary Baptist Church, when Dr. Ralph David Abernathy finished introducing him, he looked around in the audience and said, you know, I was just trying to figure out who he was talking about. But we knew who he was talking about. When Gloria asks you to do something, you have to do it because you know it's right. Now, one of the things that I'm sure that all of us have learned to do throughout our lifetime is to prioritize things. If you have not learned to prioritize things, then you're in trouble. Let's think about it for a moment. Just suppose that everybody throughout the world was doing what we are doing here tonight. There would be no need to spend all this money on bombs and weapons and other things. They could easily be peaceful people, just like you and myself. Now, as I looked at my calendar a few minutes ago, I noted that I was scheduled to be at a reception with the Secretary of Transportation, John Carnarvon, the Commonwealth Transportation Board, and some other people. That is not as important as being here with you. I can see them anytime. And if they really need my services, or they want me, all they have to do is call me. But tonight, this is the most important thing for me to do, is to come here and join with you and let you know that I share the same thing that you do relative to peace. You know, there's a thing called right and wrong. Wrong is wrong if everybody is for it. Right is right if everybody's against it. I'm not saying that everybody's against what we're doing, but you know, we are on a mission. And when I say we, I'm not just talking about the people that are in the audience. I'm talking about myself as well. You know, I watch the news quite a bit. How many of you have been to the Virginia General Assembly? Did you have the opportunity to go up in the balcony, you know, where we meet, and you were able to watch us as we converse through the day? What did you note there? The very first thing that we do when we open the General Assembly. Now, these are your legislators that make the laws for the Commonwealth of Virginia. The first thing we do is pray. The second thing we do is pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. We make the laws, but the teacher over at the school, her class cannot pray in the morning. It's illegal. They can't recite the Pledge of Allegiance. But we, the lawmakers, can do that. Now that seems to be a little off track. I think that it's going to take people like us. And when I say us, I believe I'm a part of what you represent and what we represent, regardless as to what someone else might think about what we're doing. You know, I don't know if I told you this story when I was here the last time. But one day when I returned from my office in Richmond, I had a stack of papers about that thick on my desk. 2 women from Atlanta, Georgia, one from Washington, D.C., and a man from Washington, D.C., had visited my office and said, our sister and our mother has been incarcerated for 23 years. She is supposed to remain there for 70 years. She told me that they had written 3 letters to Congressman Bobby Scott. They had visited every office in the General Assembly. No one had responded. You see, I represent the 9th District. The 9th District in the state of Virginia does not cover Washington, D.C. It does not even cover Richmond. One of the people that this message was left to was a minister. He didn't respond. Regardless as to what your faith is, I have faith in a supreme being. That night, when I went back to my hotel room, very seldom did I do anything on my own. I always ask for guidance from up above. I prayed and asked for that guidance. I was directed out to the prison to see this lady. the next morning. When she saw me, she didn't know who I was because someone had told her that a man was coming to see her, but she didn't know who it was. When she found out that it was me, she broke down and started crying. She said, because 23 years ago, when I was locked up, she said they tried to get me to admit that I was the person that committed the crime. But she said, I couldn't do that because I was not that person. She said, when I went there, I was 7 months pregnant at the time. She said, the man that said that he had recognized me said, this cannot be the man because the woman that I saw wasn't pregnant. She said she gave birth to the child, and for about 8 or 9 years. Now for someone who has not been incarcerated, it would be difficult for you to understand this. But she said for 8 or 9 years when she was there, when her parents would bring that child in to see her, she was handcuffed and chained on her legs. She said that was a terrible feeling. She gave up, so to speak, and then she started praying. And after about 10 years, she developed that kind of belief and faith that I think that those of us here possess. And know that there's something beyond us and the things that we have to do while we're here. So I went back and talked with the governor. He freed her. She is now working in Washington, D.C. She calls me about every 2 months. And next month, she's getting married. She made me promise her that I would come up for her wedding. She said not only is her father going to walk with her, but she wants me to walk with her too. So I can assure you on that day, even though Gloria, that's a busy day in the barbershop, I plan to be there. I'm going to use some other priority instincts and go there to see her. But there's one other thing that I wanted to mention to you. We have 50 states in the Union. There's only 2 states in the Union that once you go to prison and pay your fine, serve your sentence, when you return to that state, your voting rights are automatically restored. Virginia and Kentucky are the only 2 states that do not grant you. They keep punishing you for life. My brothers and sisters, that's wrong. That is wrong. Once you serve your sentence, the record should be quite clean. But let me show you how you can work with people like that. When Governor King was serving as governor of this state, and there was some talk that President Obama might pick Tim King as his running mate, I began to think, I said, now, if the governor pardons her, for the very conservative people, they're going to look at this and say he's soft on crime. So I asked him about that. He said, Algie, he said it would not have made any difference. I would have pardoned her anyway because it was the right thing to do. So I would respect him for that. And Gloria, you were there the other night. I did not have any idea that Tim Kaine would mention this again. He mentioned it after the discussion that we had. So we do have people in high places that will listen to you. And Gloria, I hope that as long as I remain in this position that I'm in now, and even after I leave that position, I hope that you will continue to invite me back here, because the one reason I hadn't been here 6 times because I wasn't invited 6 times. If I had known, I would have been here. So thank you so much for inviting me, and thanks so much for your support. And may God continue to bless all of us as we strive down these difficult roads. Thank you.